The silence in a room of true wealth is not merely an absence of noise. It is a physical weight. It is a dense and heavy atmosphere composed of thick velvet curtains that have not been changed since the 1950s, and Persian rugs that have absorbed the footsteps of 4 generations. There is a specific scent to it. It smells of beeswax, cold stone, and the slow, inexorable decay of old paper. In these spaces, the ticking of a clock does not measure the passing of seconds. It measures the endurance of a bloodline. Here, urgency is considered a vulgarity. To rush is to admit that you are subject to the whims of the world rather than a master of it. The master sits in the leather wingback chair, nursing a glass of cognac that is older than the laborer who bottled it, and he waits. He waits, with a predator's stillness. This is the secret language of the aristocracy. It is not spoken in dialects of money or influence, but in the terrifying dialect of time. To understand the chasm between the nouveau riche and the dynastic elite, one must look past the bank accounts and into the calendar. The newly wealthy live in a state of perpetual acceleration. They are addicted to the quarterly return, the fiscal year, the rapid turnover of trends, and the immediate gratification of the purchase. They buy Ferraris that depreciate the moment the engine roars to life. They build glass mansions that will require renovation within a decade. They are sprinting against mortality, trying to consume the world before their hearts stop beating. Old money does not sprint. It does not even run. It operates on a timeline that renders the individual life almost irrelevant. When a family has held power for 500 years, a single human lifespan is merely a transition period, a stewardship between the ghosts of the past and the inheritors of the future. This creates a psychological profile that is distinct, calculating, and often unnerving to the outsider. The dynast does not view time as a resource to be spent. They view time as a territory to be occupied. Consider the concept of the long now. In the high-altitude air of the Swiss Alps or the damp drawing rooms of the British countryside, decisions are made with a horizon of 50 or 100 years. This is not hyperbole. It is a financial and social strategy. When the Duke of Westminster's estate signs a lease in London, it is often for 99 years. The signatories know they will be dead before the lease expires. They are signing on behalf of a great-grandchild who has not yet been conceived. There is a cold intimacy in this act. It requires a suppression of the ego that the modern celebrity or tech mogul cannot comprehend. To be truly old money is to accept that you are a minor character in a much longer story. You are not the owner of the fortune. You are merely the curator. This perspective shifts the very nature of desire. The wealthy of the New World desire things that shine. The wealthy of the Old World desire things that endure. This is why their aesthetic often looks tattered to the uninitiated. A Barbour jacket is only considered respectable once it has been repaired 3 times. A leather armchair is only comfortable once the hide has cracked. This appreciation for the patina of age is a signal. It says that we have been here for a long time, and we intend to remain here after you are gone. New money buys a watch to tell the time. Old money repairs a grandfather clock that tells the history. The psychology of this temporal arrogance is rooted in the upbringing of the dynastic child. From the nursery, they are inoculated against the disease of immediacy. The famous Stanford marshmallow test, which measures a child's ability to delay gratification, is the default setting of the aristocratic education. But it goes deeper than resisting a sweet. It is the training of the nervous system to endure silence, to withstand boredom, and to observe without reacting. In the glittering salons of Paris or the hushed clubs of New York, one can always spot the newcomer by their reactivity. They laugh too quickly at jokes. They interrupt to prove their intelligence. They check their phones. The scion of an old family sits with a terrifying neutrality. They have been taught that time is on their side. If they wait long enough, the other person will speak, and in speaking, the other person will reveal a weakness. This weaponized patience is a trait found in high-stakes poker players and apex predators, but in the aristocracy, it is polished into a social grace. They are waiting for you to exhaust yourself. History provides us with chilling examples of this long-game mentality. Consider the forestry management of the German nobility. In the 18th century, families like the princes of Thurn und Taxis managed vast woodlands. They planted oaks that would not be ready for harvest for 200 years. A man would spend his fortune planting saplings that would essentially look like weeds for the rest of his life. He did this with the absolute certainty that in the year 2100, his descendant would fell that timber and maintain the family's position. This requires a faith in the stability of one's lineage that borders on the religious. It assumes that the world will not change so drastically that oak is no longer valuable. It assumes that the revolution will not come. It is a bet against chaos. This stands in stark contrast to the venture capital mindset of Silicon Valley, where the goal is the exit strategy. The nouveau riche build companies to sell them. They want the liquidity event, the cash out, the moment of release. Old money views the sale of a primary asset as a failure. One does not sell the land. One does not sell the collection. One does not sell the castle. To convert a tangible, enduring asset into cash is to convert something eternal into something that fluctuates with inflation. Cash is volatile. Land is forever. This is why, in the depths of financial crises, while the stock market bleeds and the new millionaires jump from windows or file for bankruptcy, the old families simply retreat to their estates and wait. They know that markets recover. They know that wars end. They have the reserves to outlast the catastrophe. Let us look at a rare and under-discussed example of this temporal mastery: the Hoshi Ryokan in Japan. This traditional inn has been operated by the same family for 46 generations. It was founded in the year 718. While empires have risen and fallen, while the shogunate collapsed and the modern world was born, one family has focused on the singular task of maintaining a hot spring and a guest house. This is not merely a business. It is a defiance of entropy. The current owner is not working for himself. He is working to ensure that the chain remains unbroken. The pressure of such a legacy is crushing. It requires a submission of the self that is almost monk-like. In the West, we celebrate the self-made man. In the world of Hoshi Ryokan, the self-made man is a tragedy because he has no roots. He is a leaf blowing in the wind. This different sense of time also dictates the social calendar, the season, the hunt, the summer migration to the coast. These are not vacations. They are rituals of continuity. They occur at the same time, in the same place, with the same people, year after year. This cyclical time creates a fortress against the unpredictability of the outside world. If you know exactly where you will be in August of next year, and August of the year after that, you are insulated from the anxiety of choice. You are safe. But it is a suffocating safety. It is the safety of a museum exhibit, preserved behind glass, unchanging, while the world outside accelerates into the unknown. There is a financial instrument that perfectly encapsulates this philosophy, one that is rarely discussed in polite society but is the bedrock of dynastic wealth. It is the dynasty trust, or in older terms, the entailment. In the days of the British landed gentry, an entailment restricted the owner of an estate from selling it or dividing it. He was legally bound to pass it to his heir intact. While such strict laws have largely vanished, the modern equivalent exists in the form of perpetual trusts in jurisdictions like South Dakota or the Cayman Islands. These legal structures are designed to last for centuries. They strip the beneficiaries of control. The heirs receive an income, but they cannot touch the principal. The money is locked in a cage of time, protected from the incompetence or the vices of the living. This creates a peculiar dynamic between the money and the person. The money is the master, the person is the servant. We often imagine the rich as having ultimate freedom. But the heirs to great, old fortunes are often prisoners of their own inheritance. They cannot escape the weight of the past. If a young heir wants to be a jazz musician or a painter, but the trust dictates that they must manage the family portfolio, the trust usually wins. The dead govern the living. The great-grandfather who made the fortune in 1890 controls the life of the young man in 2024. This is the dark side of the long horizon. It turns the family into a corporation and the children into employees. We must also examine the architecture of their conversation. If you listen closely to the dialogue of the truly elite, you will notice a distinct lack of urgency. They do not talk about the news, because the news is fleeting. They talk about history, art, and geography. They talk about connections. Who was her mother? Is a more important question than, what does she do? The former establishes a location in the web of time. The latter merely describes a temporary economic function. When they do discuss business, it is rarely about the next big thing. It is about preservation. It is about risk mitigation. They are the goaltenders of capitalism, not the strikers. Their job is not to score, but to never let the ball into the net. There is a suspenseful quality to this patience. It can feel predatory. In the world of high finance, the vulture capitalist is a derogatory term, but the old money investor is often a patient scavenger. They wait for the blood in the water. During the Great Depression, while new fortunes evaporated, the dynasties with liquidity moved in and bought assets for pennies on the dollar. They did not panic. They had been waiting for the correction. They saw the crash not as a disaster, but as a harvest. This requires a coldness that is difficult to master. It requires one to look at the suffering of the market with total detachment, knowing that your time horizon allows you to survive while others perish. Consider the art market. A nouveau riche collector buys what is hot. They buy the artist on the magazine cover. They want the piece that screams relevance. The old money collector buys what is missing from the collection. They might spend 20 years waiting for a specific sketches by a Renaissance master to come to auction. They have the dossier. They know who owns it. They know the owner is elderly. They wait. They maintain a polite correspondence, and when the inevitable death occurs, they strike. The acquisition is not a spur-of-the-moment purchase. It is the closing of a trap that was set 2 decades ago. This temporal distortion affects their relationships as well. Friendship, in this world, is not based on chemistry or shared interests in the moment. It is based on alliance and history. One is friends with the people one's parents were friends with. The social circle is a closed loop, fortified by time. To enter this circle as an outsider is an exhausting endeavor. You can buy the house in the Hamptons, you can buy the horse, but you cannot buy the childhood memories. You cannot buy the shared history of 3 generations. You will always be the newcomer. You will always be on probation. And because they operate on a longer timeline, that probation may last for the rest of your life. It may only be your children who are finally accepted, provided they attend the right schools and marry the right people. There is a distinct melancholy to this existence. When one lives for the future of the dynasty, one sacrifices the joy of the present. The now is always sacrificed on the altar of the later. The furniture is too valuable to sit on comfortably. The wine is too rare to drink casually. The house is too historic to live in comfortably. One becomes a custodian of a museum, tiptoeing through one's own life, terrified of breaking something that has survived for 300 years. The stillness of the old money world is the stillness of a mausoleum. It is beautiful, yes, it is opulent, but it is also a place where life has been formalized into a ritual, where spontaneity is the enemy, and where the clock on the wall is not counting down the hours of the day, but the centuries of the name. The behavior of the servants in these households also reflects this temporal discipline. In the great houses of Europe, the staff moves with a practiced invisibility. They know the rhythm of the house better than the owners. There is a story, perhaps apocryphal but entirely believable, of a butler in a British manor who continued to iron the morning newspaper for his master every day, even after the master had gone blind. The ritual was more important than the utility. The continuity of the act was what mattered. To stop ironing the paper would be to admit that things had changed, that decay had set in. And in these houses, one never admits to decay. One simply maintains the standard, regardless of the reality. We can also look to the concept of the family office, a financial structure that originated with the Rockefellers but has been perfected by the quiet dynasties of Europe. These are private investment firms that manage the capital of a single family. They do not have outside clients, they do not publish reports, they operate in the shadows. A family office does not chase yield. Its primary directive is capital preservation. The rule of thumb is simple: do not lose the money. If the market goes up 20% and the family office makes 5%, that is a success. If the market goes down 20% and the family office loses nothing, that is a triumph. This defensive posture is the financial manifestation of their social attitude. They have already won the game. The only goal now is to stay at the table. Even their philanthropy is different. New money gives to charity to be seen giving. They want the plaque on the hospital wing. They want the gala. Old money creates foundations that are designed to operate in perpetuity. They are interested in systemic influence, in shaping policy and culture over decades. They fund the universities that educate the elite. They fund the think tanks that write the laws. It is a subtle, pervasive influence that works like water on stone. It is slow, invisible, and over time, it reshapes the landscape completely. There is a sense of dread that accompanies this realization. We like to think that the world is shaped by elections, by revolutions, by the loud and chaotic movements of the masses. But there is a parallel world, a quiet world of mahogany and silence, where the course of history is steered by those who have the patience to wait us out. They are the owners of the clock. While we run around checking our watches, terrified of being late, they are sitting in the high castle, watching the sun move across the floorboards, knowing that eventually, everything returns to them. Ultimately, the study of old money and time leaves one with a feeling of insignificance. We are confronted with the reality of systems that are designed to outlive us. The dynasty is a machine for immortality. It sheds its members like a snake sheds its skin, but the organism survives. The individual requires validation, love, and excitement. The dynasty requires only continuity. To enter this world is to accept a bargain. You get the comfort, the power, and the protection of the fortress. But the price is your autonomy. You become a link in a chain, held fast by the iron grip of those who came before you, and the heavy expectation of those who will come after. You are never truly alone in the room. You are always accompanied by the ghosts of the past, watching from the portraits in their gilded frames, their eyes calm, judging, and infinitely patient. So the next time you see a crumbling stone wall on a country estate, or a woman in a coat that is elegant but threadbare, or a man who speaks with a maddeningly slow cadence, do not mistake it for lethargy. Do not mistake it for weakness. Recognize it for what it is. It is the confidence of the glacier. It moves slowly, imperceptibly, but it crushes everything in its path, and it has nowhere else to be.